Good to be back in the old hot seat here. You were saying you wanted to talk about winding down, summer winding down, fall gearing up. Yeah, people are back to school, but man, it's so hard to say the summer's winding down when it's 105. That sun is intense.
It is. Or
it's
108. It's crazy.
Beaten down. Oh, 108?
Well, I don't know if it is today.
Well, there you have it.
It is hot out there.
So,
and
but
as much
summer,
as I love the pool and I still get in that pool every single day, it is just very warm.
But we're getting into late August, and when September rolls around, you at least have to start thinking about, you've got Monday Night Football, even though you've got preseason games last few weeks, but you start thinking about fall football. So obviously with school starting, people are thinking about the fall. So what do we have?
And isn't it interesting how we're in that different, just kind of a different season than we've, been in for most of our lives, which is you live by the time clock of back to school, and it's the seasons, the summertime and all that. And so
it's interesting you say that, because I'd never have really gotten into the swing of like semester in college. I did think semesters, but like with the seasons even, and when school's starting, and I just that never really clicked. I'm just kind of every day.
My body is set
you
on
are
that
set
time
on
clock.
that.
I think just as a mom with back to school and everything that comes with that, with getting the kids all their supplies and all those lists and football, you always did all that with the boys, but just it's like everything kind of cranks back up. There's a different rhythm that starts.
There definitely is a different rhythm
right about now. So
it would always take me a minute to just realize, like, wait, why aren't people talking about graduation? Oh, it is May. It never really clicked to me. I'm just kind of one foot in front of the other.
Well, and I think too, when it probably was a little bit more with me because I used to teach school before we had kids.
There you go.
So I was just on that time clock anyway. But
so what's happening in the fall for long haul marriage?
We have so much in the hopper. We have, I think, we've got one more wedding in August, 2 in September, 2 in October. I'm doing one on a Friday night, and then you're doing one the next day on a Saturday. Yeah. Anyway, so still have
then we have one
6
in
more
December.
Weddings. Yep.
Any November weddings?
No November right now.
Right.
So 6 more through the end of the year. But then on top of that, we have Long Haul Marriage is going to be a part of North Texas Giving Day, which starts, early giving is like August 27th, but it kind of culminates on North Texas Giving Day, which is September 17th. So
excellent.
I just think it's a cool way that this foundation started this Giving Day to where it kind of highlights a lot of different nonprofits,
raises
that
the
are around
awareness
North Texas,
of all the nonprofits.
And we are included
and
in that this
hopefully
year.
You guys will send your love our way.
Yes.
We love it.
We'll be posting more about that. And then you can always go to longhaulmarriage.org and there's a little donate button right there. So you can donate anytime. Yeah. And we're so thankful for you and for all of our monthly donors. Really
And then we have a fundraising event, an awareness raising event for Long Haul at Justin Coffee Co.
And that's the end of September.
Justin Coffee and Company. What do you?
Justin Coffee Company.
Okay.
JCC. So that is September the 30th.
Yep.
And it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a silent auction. I already have like 5 different people who've said, count me in for this. A women's haircut at a bougie salon, a massage and a facial, a photography package. So we already have several things in the hopper. So we're really excited.
Yeah.
So
and we so appreciate you guys that have already done that. And we've got a couple more that have reached out to us that want to be a part of that. And we just hope you'll be able to come that night, even if you're not a person who donates something for the silent auction. Just come and try to win something in the silent auction.
So mark your calendar for September 30th at 6:30 p.m. Justin Coffee Company.
And we've got another vendor fair we're doing at Lucky Spur.
That's this
That's
Sunday.
Always been really, really productive. This coming Sunday, come see us at Lucky Spur. It's a cool little wedding venue out in Justin, and all the vendors are there, so it's good food and drink, and you can try out people's desserts, and they have ice cream.
Really fun.
All the photographers and DJs and everybody's out there. It's fun, good time.
Then this last Saturday night, I was a part of a really cool ladies' night, like a happy hour at Inspire Yoga in Highland Village, and got to represent Long Haul Marriage and Evergreen Women's there, and passed out some coupons, and got to meet a lot of really cool women there.
And talk about Evergreen. Evergreen has just taken on a life of its own. It's grown. The community of Evergreen women has really, really grown. How many are part of your Facebook group?
Goodness, I need to probably look, but I would say over 450 women are a part of that.
And you've got a retreat coming up in the fall. Have you? Yep. Is that letting the cat out of the bag? Have you released? I know you talked about it.
We may have already released the dates. If not, here we go. You're the first to know. November 6th through 8th. That's a Friday through a Sunday. We're going to extend it just a little bit longer this year, so you'll show up a little earlier on Friday. So Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It's intimate. It's going to be beautiful, relaxing. It's going to be so much fun. So save the date for that, for our Evergreen Women's Retreat. We would love for you to join us. Yeah. If you're a lady, if you're a guy, you're on your own. But that's coming up in November. So, man, my head is kind of spinning with all the things in the hopper. But
got a lot.
It's good.
And this Thursday, I've got a rehearsal, and Saturday wedding. Got to go to McKinney.
Woo!
Get to go to McKinney, right?
Yes.
It's that old rehearsal that's getting me.
Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be a really fun fall.
Yeah.
So we're all
looking forward to it. So ChatGPT has given us the top things that people are talking about in their marriages these days. And so it's funny when you see those, like which ones are we dealing with when people reach out to us for help, and which ones kind of we don't see a lot or hear a lot of. I mean, we do. Everything on the list, definitely we see and we talk to people about, but there was someone here that could be like their own episode, and there was a few that when we looked at them, we thought we really want to do this. We want to kind of cover these. Yeah. But you made an interesting point. A lot of these things it comes down to trust. I mean, do you trust your spouse? And so I wanted to talk about a few of them and just get specific to the questions that chat gave us that people are all talking about. These were the hot ones across the country or around the world. You know, when chat is querying, if you tell them to put that hat on, you can obviously be specific. Are these in the U.S. or whatever? But these are just in general some things that are on the minds of some couples and things that they're dealing with, struggling with, some challenges. But let's talk about trust. So in the context of, sometimes you come into a relationship, and we've talked before about the betrayal wound that I encountered that I received in college, this betrayal wound that then I had not healed, bring it into marriage. And then there's some insecurities and some perceived threats, some jealousy or whatever. And that can turn into anger, control, can turn into all kinds of things when that betrayal wound is left unhealed. So if you've been cheated on, if you found out that your partner was doing something behind your back and it was very hurtful, even if you had ended the relationship, like that was the case with me, but you found out some things after the fact that you didn't know, and you felt, humiliated and embarrassed. You were the last to know, kind of thing. Well, then it's what kind of lies do you believe because of that wound, right?
Yeah,
and have you healed those lies? And then do you project that pain onto your spouse in the future? So some of us have been cheated on, and we bring that baggage into our current relationship. And then sometimes you are betrayed by your spouse or by your current partner. Yes. And so then when that's part of your relationship, then how do you rebuild trust? And that's a tricky thing to do. But we all, I think most of us have been hurt by someone in some way or another. And you could say, even if you haven't been cheated on with a physical affair, sometimes it's an emotional affair, or sometimes it's just, we hear people say my spouse committed financial adultery, or they were doing something that I didn't know they were doing. And when I found out about it, it just hurt me. And many times you've talked about those things and they, your spouse has promised never to do that again. And then all of a sudden here they are doing it again. So there's trust. Once it's been broken, then what are some things that you need to put in place? Obviously some curbs and some boundaries. What are appropriate things to put in place with members of the opposite sex as far as, friendships or relationships with them? And also just with like devices, we noticed on chat, people talking about, is it okay and appropriate to check your partner's phone, or should you have a GPS tracker on their car? And we just said, man, a lot of that just shows, you and I aren't thinking about that stuff at all, the tracker or checking phones, but that's because we have a high level of trust in each other and in our relationship. The history. Sometimes when you've gone 37 years, you've got a lot of just a healthy track record, and so that helps you have the trust. Like, I don't feel the need to track your whereabouts or your. Now, safety, that's another thing. Wanting to know where they are in case they go missing or whatever. So, I just want to read. I think this first one was, are we roommates or lovers? Signs that your marriage has drifted. That's going to be another episode. But going to this trust thing, is checking your spouse's phone ever okay? So first, I'm going to throw that out to you. What do you think about, is checking your spouse's phone ever okay?
I think yes. I think.
What about people who say that's private?
My first thought is there something that you're wanting to hide? Now, I know that would probably, bug you or I if all of a sudden we were like, hey, I want to see your phone. It makes you immediately feel defensive.
Right. Even
if you don't have something to hide, you're like, you feel accused and like, what, you don't trust me, And so, but I think when we've heard like spouses have passwords and they don't know each other's passwords, and that's like a no-no, I'm thinking that is that's kind of tricky ground.
Yeah,
right there, because I feel like at any point you could pick up my phone and look at any DMs, any emails, any texts, and I would feel great about it, you know? So, my past.
Yeah. If you feel like you have to hide a conversation, it's something that obviously your spouse doesn't know about and you wouldn't want them to know about it. And there's you hear about people storing somebody's name under another name. And, if you're trying to hide something and be deceptive, ask yourself, why? Why am I not including my spouse in this?
Yeah.
I think for me, you could say you want to get to a point where you don't feel the need to check your partner's phone. But when people say, well, no, that's private, you should never check your partner's phone, I just think there should be yes, there's privacy, with the spouse. You're your individual person. But when the two become one and you're married, there should be no secrets. There should be no hidden passwords. It's like, why wouldn't you allow your partner to check your phone? And I think for me, it goes to, if there has been a previous betrayal, in the current relationship, then that may be one of the things while you're trying to heal that you need to feel safe.
Rebuild,
like, is there, hey, I'm just feeling like I'm having an insecure moment. I feel like you're looking at your phone a lot, or maybe you put it down when I enter the room. Is it okay if I look? That just could be something that you put in place that you both agree on that helps the person who has been betrayed feel safe. So in that case, I do. I think it's okay to check your partner's phone.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay. So moving right along. Can you have a best friend of the opposite sex when you're married?
That one's tricky. That one is tricky.
We've been asked this several times.
Yes,
and it's come up. Go ahead.
I don't love the idea. If you were to have what does it say? Can you have a friend or a best friend?
A best friend of the opposite sex when you're married. Like one of your best friends.
Honestly, you and I have not had to really work through that.
Right.
I guess it would, for me depend. Like if there was somebody that you grew up with that you were best friends from,
that's what we hear.
Grade school on
it's
up.
platonic. We're just like, we've known each other forever. And they just like, there's no chemistry, no sexual attraction. Yeah. But if they're members of the opposite sex, unless you're just both like totally like repulsed or turned off by the other person, it can be a bad idea, right?
And I think it really depends on what does your spouse think about it.
Yeah.
Is your spouse okay with it? If they feel like maybe they're getting edged out, you're spending more time with that best friend, or you come home, you've gone to dinner with them or coffee, or you come home super happy from that, and you're like, oh, well, you're grumpy with me, or you sure have a lot to talk about with that person. Like if there's any kind of mistrust, I mean, you really have to pay attention to that, and maybe it's you both are included in that text.
Yeah. And I know this could rub some people the wrong way, and you could disagree, and I could actually listen to your disagreement and respect that. But for me, there's no way that because I think some people are thinking in terms of, are you inviting fire in your lap? Is that just a bomb waiting to explode because it's going to lead to an affair, whether it's physical or at least an emotional affair? And like, you could start to like, how do you define that? And what does an emotional affair means? It's funny, if it's a best friend, there's no way. Let's say you can look into a crystal ball and there's no way that you're ever going to have some kind of sexual deal with that person. It's never going to become physical. But at the very least, if you're a best friend, by definition, you are thinking about that person. You're spending time with that person. Spending time builds familiarity and builds intimacy. And if it's a member of the opposite sex, that's just time that you're not thinking about or spending with your own spouse. And so, you could be rock solid in your spouse's relationship and your marriage and feel so secure. But at the very least, you're taking some time away from that. And I think in today's culture, there's so many things that are fighting for our attention. They're I mean, with Netflix streaming and the social media, there's so many distractions. I feel like we need as much time as we can to pour into each other. I mean, good night. It's so hard to do that in the first place. So, but it's not about dogging you if you've been friends with somebody forever, but we have, I mean, if it's just like with an ex, when people are friendly with their ex, right? It's like, wait, the person in the current relationship can feel threatened by that. And it's like, and if you start to feel threatened by that, you need to voice up and say, hey, wait, why are you wanting to spend that time with that person? Or like you said, why are you getting such a good mood when you're going to see them? Like, hey, I haven't seen you shower in a week. Why are you getting all gussied up to go see them? But that can be tricky if you're, Anything else on that one?
No, maybe this is just the culmination of all of them, but you just said it when you said you need to voice up about it. I would say if any of these things, if you feel like me as a wife, if I started to feel insecure, or I just had this weird kind of thing in my spirit, like I don't feel good about that, or that's, it's taking up a lot of space in my brain or my heart, or I find myself thinking about it a lot, I would want to, as your wife, be able to come to you and just say, hey, not accusatory and, ragging you out, but being able to say, be vulnerable and go, hey, I've been feeling a little bit of this. And maybe it's me, maybe I don't, maybe I'm making something big out of it, but it's really kind of starting to bother me. And I don't want it to I don't want to build some kind of story in my head that's not true, or let some wall begin to build between us. So I just want us to have a conversation about it. Yeah. So when you can be so vulnerable and so honest, that's hard, because I'm having to admit, like, I've got some insecurities, or I don't feel like I'm able to trust you right now, or, I feel not great about myself. Am I too much, or am I not enough? And could you want someone else? I would just think if you can create a safe environment in your home and in your marriage where you can enter into that conversation, because many times people just don't talk about it, and all of a sudden things just start getting weird because you weren't honest about it. And so, you know, it's going to come out sideways.
And it's a matter of priority. You know, the number one, you know, we talk about, people have heard us talk about Jimmy Evans and the foundational laws: priority, pursuit, purity, and partnership. And the number one, you know, and if you meet those foundational laws, you have like 100% success rate or chance of success in your marriage. So you want to feel prioritized. And so even, I mean, we talk about this, it's, you know, being the golf mistress or the hunting widow or whatever. So if you're prioritizing something over your spouse, they should feel a little jealous about that. It's like, hey, I want to get your quote first fruits. I want to get your top. I want to have your attention, your priority, your time. And if you're not getting that because of anything, you should voice up, and you could start feeling like, man, especially if there's a distance and you don't feel close or whatever, you quote drifted apart. But if it's now a female for me or a male for you, there's no way you're not going to be threatened by that.
Yeah.
So it's even, again, so it's a matter of priority. But even when that, like, man, I feel like you're prioritizing me, but now you're giving some of your time and attention to someone else. And if they happen to be the opposite gender of your spouse, then it's just never gonna go well. I don't think. Again, if you're out there and you have this best friend, it's platonic, and your spouse knows them, and maybe when you spend time around that best friend, your spouse is there and they're included and they see every conversation, and you're going out together and not just alone. That just feels weird if you're keeping anything private from your spouse. So yeah, the next one is emotional affairs. When does a friendship cross the line? Okay. So I said that before, that maybe we could define that. So when does a friendship become an emotional affair? What would you say on that one?
I would say you say this a lot, but time spent, builds intimacy,
familiarity and intimacy.
And so I think when you're spending so much time with someone else, you're opening up and you're talking about personal stuff, personal feelings, maybe even divulging like, we've been struggling in our marriage. I mean, that would be, you're really starting to, I think, open yourself up to, you know, and again, you may be out there and you may argue like, no, I have a friend that really, you know, cares about my whatever. So there's always, you know, I think maybe exclusions to this, but you'd have to maybe prove me wrong. I just think if you spent so much time with someone other than your spouse of the opposite sex, you can just really start to build some intimacy there where you're not giving that to your spouse.
Yeah.
So anytime you find yourself like, ooh, I don't want my spouse to know about this. Like this is a little something I need to hide, to tuck away. I think you need to start thinking like, okay, where's this going? Why?
Yeah. Well, when you say that, we use the term emotional affair, it would be ridiculous to say or to think, many people, you're having an emotional affair like with one of your parents. But are you having emotional needs met by someone else instead of your spouse?
Right.
Like it's a replacement. And so if we hear people that they get upset, it's like, man, she's always going to her dad for stuff that I wish she would come to me, or she's talking to her sister or her mom instead of coming to me. And that becomes a replacement. She doesn't need me emotionally. So in some ways you could feel like that person's having an emotional affair. But when it's interesting too, when you look at some of the top people, obviously that spouses will have an affair with, it's, you know, coworkers or your partner's your best friend, you know, my husband's best friend, you hear, or wife's best friend. Why? Because opportunity. And when I say that, like what? You're spending time with them. You're around them. And so for me, and we've talked about this a lot with a lot of couples recently, is when people start becoming threatened about a coworker. And so when does that quote, friendship. So first, yes, hopefully you're going to become friends with people you work with, but then when does that cross over into an emotional affair? My thing is, are you talking about business? Are you now talking about things that are personal?
Yeah.
And once you cross into that personal space, it's like, why did you think to share that personal, that detail about your life with that person? Why are you thinking about them? Why did you feel the need to share that? Why are they sharing that with you?
Yeah.
So if it goes from business to personal, I think that's a red flag. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think there are times when when you work with people that there's a group of people and y'all are talking and, where you're going to share something personally about because it's not just going to be about business, but when you have this like strong need, like I need to tell them this first, before my spouse. It's not that work, you're never going to talk about, anything personal. Like, I was running, I'm training for this marathon. No, I'm not really, but, when I pulled my hamstring last night or whatever, it's not like you're not going to talk about anything personal with other people from work. But I think it's even hard to like have this conversation because I think even without us saying, well, here's the boundary for that, I think we all have this.
Sorry.
That's okay. When you're awake at a good, strong level, you're going to know like this doesn't feel right. This is something that I need to, I can share this with somebody that I work and this is a personal thing, but
especially the minute you feel the inclination to like walk out of a room if you're talking or texting that person, or you wouldn't want them to see the volume, the quantity of text that you've had with that person. There's that. And let's go back to the time spent builds familiarity. What if it's like, man, I'm truly like helping that person. I just feel like, I want to be there for them. So my question is, what is that filling a need in you? I want to rescue. I want to heal. I want to help.
Like savior kind of complex.
Yeah. And it feels good to be needed. If we just have to ask ourselves, what is it that feels good about that person reaching out to us or reaching out back to that person? And again, are you giving? Do you have a divided heart? Do you have a divided mind?
Yes.
Are you just having to divide how much emotional energy? We only have so much. And are you giving that to someone else's, home?
And I think
Proverbs
in that case, that's where you just have to trust and say, hey, if this doesn't feel right, if this is too much, if my spouse is uncomfortable or my spouse would be uncomfortable knowing this, then that's where you draw your own line and you trust, okay, God's got someone else to quote unquote help that person.
Yes.
Sometimes you're like, but if
He loves them more than you do.
like some like good stuff is happening, like I'm really helping. Okay, great. But maybe you're not the person that needs to be helped. There are other people that can help that person.
Good. Yeah, good. Very good. All right. So how about, no, we're going to do that another one. Do you really have to tell your spouse everything? You really have to tell your spouse everything? Are there some things that you just could keep between you and the fence post or take to your grave? What do you think about that? What's your first when you hear that?
Man, it's so hard sitting where we are after 37 years because I just feel like I can't help but tell you everything, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an instance, like even people that we've talked to.
Yeah. I guess that like if I'm going to hurt my spouse's feelings, like, come on, Brian, you don't have to be that honest. Just don't say anything. If you can't say something nice, like holding back on something that could be critical or hurt your spouse's feelings.
This was years ago when I got my hair cut and you said it looked like a water buffalo.
Oh man.
That was hurtful.
Women,
so you didn't,
guys.
You didn't.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was stupid.
You didn't have to say.
It was just the middle part that.
Well,
but you're right. I should have never ever said that. I've learned. But so yeah, there's. Good night. I'm going to get hate. So it's not just in that arena. Like, I think when the chat comes up in this context of trust, do you have to tell your spouse everything? It's like, again, my question would be, why do you feel the need to hide something? And I know this whole, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. Man, honesty is the best policy. I just think sharing truth with your spouse, sharing everything, just don't, I mean, if you want to talk about feeling free, is when you can lay your head on the pillow at night and you can look in the mirror and you've got integrity. Like there's nothing you fear being found out, or there's nothing that my partner doesn't know, or would, if they did find out, would hurt them. It's just a good feeling. So in that respect, maybe that's the litmus test. If I feel like I shouldn't share this with my spouse, is it just because you don't want to be mean and say something stupid about their hair or how they look in a dress or whatever? You know, it's interesting. I heard Jordan Peterson talking about sharing when his not being a yes man is like, hey, sweetheart, does this dress make me look fat, or is this flattering? He would, like, if you ask your spouse, you want to know they're going to be honest. And so he would say, no, I don't really care for that one. And then that meant that his opinion carried weight. And you may think, well, screw him. It doesn't matter what he thinks. It's my dress. I'll wear what I want. Okay. But they had a relationship where she wanted to know, like, how does this, because she honestly wanted to look nice for him. And
I think there's ways you can
versa.
say it.
Yeah.
Like you just said it, or that's not my favorite.
Yeah.
You know,
right. Trying to do it.
When I've asked you before and you're like, I think
his
I
whole
like
point
the blue
was
one better, or,
his opinion carried a lot of weight because she knew he was going to be honest.
Yeah.
And so then when he said it looks good, she knew it really looked good.
He's not.
And again, I can hear so many people say, it doesn't matter what the man thinks, I'll wear whatever I want, which is great. Knock yourself out. They actually cared about each other's opinions.
I do care what you think, you know?
Okay. So there's that. How about, let's see, one more here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is flirting cheating? Let's talk about the gray areas. Okay. Is flirting cheating? Why are you flirting with someone? Cheating. That's what I want to know. That's just ridiculous.
And I would say, how are they defining flirting?
Right. I mean, if you're truly flirting, what you're saying is, I want some attention and I'm wanting it from you. Like, what's your need? You just check your need there. But that's me. Go ahead. What were you? Oh, look at the hummy right behind you.
Oh, really?
Hummingbird just came and looked right in the window.
There's never one.
I know he came and peeked.
So yeah, I think this is another one where it's hard to really say, here's the list of rules of what flirting is and what flirting isn't. And I think,
and again, I can hear our culture, a lot of people going, hey, there's nothing wrong with a little flirting here and there. And it's natural and it's normal and it won't harm anybody. It's just flirting. I'm never going to act on it, quote unquote. Well, and my thing is getting underneath. Why are you needing attention from someone other than your spouse?
I think too, this goes back to 37 years ago, or almost 40 years ago when we first met. And let's go back to that wound that you talked about, the betrayal wound that you had, that I don't even think you realized was still, I think so many people have some quote unquote triggers. That's maybe a overused word these days, but people have certain things that have happened, some kind of wound that you carry from your past that you have brought into whatever next relationship is. So I think for me, when we first were married, neither one of us realized what that betrayal in college had done to you. I mean, it did a number on you. And so here I am. I feel like I'm a really kind person. I try to be, nice and friendly. And so here we are together, and not knowing that that's what your wound was. We go to a restaurant and I'm just very nice to the waiter or waitress, whatever the server is.
Especially if you look like Brad Pitt.
Well, no, nobody ever looked like Brad Pitt. But I feel like that was a really hard time in our relationship when we didn't really know yet what that wound was. And
so me perceiving, again, that was a product of the wound. And
so
I guess
perceiving me being kind.
And you're saying I wasn't flirting.
No.
Yeah.
So
And you're not an overly, I would say you're very friendly, but it's not like you're flirting. Yeah.
But I will say back in the day when there was that trigger or that wound, that may have been seen as flirting, being flirtatious. So that's not what I'm talking about here. Like if you're a friendly, kind person, be that person.
Right. We aren't talking about when you're needing healing and you're discalibrated, whatever that word is, with the wrong, where that's on me. That wasn't on you. I'm talking about basically people saying, well, is it wrong they know they're flirting?
Yes.
It is flirting. It's like, is that wrong to flirt when you know nothing's going to come of it, or when you think it's not your intention?
Yes.
I would especially say be careful if you're a woman and you're flirting, you think nothing's going to come of it. You're giving a guy the wrong intention. And I'm not saying women are immune to that too. If you're showing them attention, it feels good. If you're a human being and you're not going to admit that someone else, anybody showing you attention doesn't feel good, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, be truthful, be honest about that, and always let that be the line for you that says, hey, am I feeling a disconnection with my spouse? Am I angry with them, or am I hurt by them? Do I feel divided from them? And so I'm giving my attention to somewhere else, or I'm seeking attention from somebody else. So I think it's really, really healthy to be super aware of where you are in your relationship. And if you feel there's this disconnect and we're just, we're at odds, or we have this really, really be careful.
Yeah. The last one we have time for today, and there's a bunch on here that we could do just on that, one episode on the thing. But this one is should married couples share their location? Talked about that before. In today's world, maybe it's from a safety standpoint. Find My iPhone, or the things are all turned on in our account on my Mac, where if you ever go missing, I can find where you are. But this whole, hey, you said you were at work, and I saw you were over here at this, 7-Eleven 20 miles away, and then you drove over to this apartment complex or whatever. People that are always checking their spouse's location, again, that just shows there's been some breach of trust, obviously.
Yes.
And there's something that you're insecure about, something you're perceiving as a threat. It's heartbreaking when that's excruciatingly painful and tormenting to be always wondering, is your spouse lying to you about where they are? Yeah. And so that's a symptom of bigger problems.
Yeah.
So,
and I count it, I think we both do, as such an honor to be able to walk alongside a couple that is working through these issues. So whether it's just a perception or whether it's the truth, like, hey, there's some stuff here that we need to talk about that's not okay, you know, and let's help shore this up and get you. But the conversation is so important to just begin to kind of get a baseline, like where are we, what's going on here, and start to rebuild, if you're both in like, hey, we need to, there has been a breach of trust here, or I'm just, I'm working with crazy brain and I'm making these things up in my head. I mean, having an open, honest conversation with other people is so, so helpful. And so I think it's something that you and I do a lot. And
I would say, yes, to the person who's living with someone with an unhealed betrayal wound, I would say try to be so compassionate towards that and forgiving. Sometimes it will feel like that person's coming at you with an accusation, and that's on, us to not accuse someone. But when you can say, I'm struggling with some insecurity right now because of that, try not to be defensive. When you get defensive, like, are you crazy? What? And I get it. If you feel like you are being attacked or being accused, that's hard. But to see the person with compassion, man, they're broken, they're hurting, they are literally living in crazy brain right now, and they've been triggered. And so, but that's helpful for the person who has been betrayed to say, man, I'm dealing with some insecurity, and don't veil it with anger that you could have been dead. I didn't know where you were. You can say, I'm struggling. I didn't know if you were out doing something that you shouldn't have been doing because of my past a traumatic experience. You know, it's so tormenting for the person who's going through that. So the more honest you can be about that, I think some of that loses its power, you know.
And it's really
but try
cool
not to be defensive if you are the one on the other end of that. Just try to see that person as, man, I'm gonna go overboard to try to assuage their insecurities.
Yeah. And I just
while healing, it does
to
occur.
Offer. There's so much hope. There's so much hope to rebuild trust and to not be, if you're on the other end, to be, you know, that you're just controlling. You feel like you've got to clamp down on everything, you know, location and phone. And like, you know, if I could crawl inside your brain and know your every thought, you know, I mean, you're driving yourself crazy trying to control. There's so much hope in
and again,
in bringing healing
and the freedom. I can speak for me, the healing that came and the freedom, not just for you, you know, who's not being, you know, scrutinized or accused or me checking or controlling or whatever. Just the freedom of, from my standpoint, just never thinking about checking a phone or checking your location or worried about who you're talking to or listening to, or it's just, that's exhausting. That is exhausting. And some people think they're just going to deal with that the rest of their life. And that's not the truth. You know, we definitely love watching people find freedom and healing from that wound.
Yeah. Good stuff, baby.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, there you have it. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have, and again, as always, man, you can push back or challenge or any kind of clarifying questions that you'd like to, or hear, you know, further on that, any particular topic. It's only so much we can do in, you know, 30, 35 minutes or whatever while we're yapping.
I would just say too, for anyone who's started back to school, if you're a student, if you're a teacher, I mean, just good luck as you're learning those A, B, C.
See ya.